Good morning. I'd like to start this morning with a little story because I think that they're the best way that you can possibly get to understand things rather than me just throwing words at you. I watched a whole thing last night. I watched a whole thing about last night on Jordan Peterson and a theoretical physicist talking about consciousness. Now, neither of them defined their terms, or nobody actually tried to define exactly what consciousness was. They just bandied it between them. Oh, consciousness is impacting on this, and consciousness is impacting on that, and the algorithms of consciousness and everything else. But it was purposely. Now, and I am fairly well versed when it comes to fucking understanding these things. And they were just talking on their fucking arse. I was pure theatre, just pure theatre, with none of them actually defining the terms and defining what consciousness is. But they were just using consciousness to create a mystique, something like the Christians used to do. This is too deep for you, this is too deep for you, but we're academics, we're intellectuals. But don't you fucking worry, we got you, we have your back. We'll fucking wipe your arse for you. You don't need to wipe it yourself. You know, that's down to us. And that's what the whole fucking thing was about. Now, if I got into that fucking debate, I would have had a few questions for them, but that's basically... Anyway... They're using language to and muddying the waters to make them appear deep. That's the best way I can say it. Now that's just first of all what I want to start with. So basically, I've no wish to do that. So I'll start with a little story about. I always say you can't control your thoughts, and I want to give you a little story that explains this. One time I had a couple of guests over, staying back in Brothertown in Portlaoise at the time, and I had a few guests over, and in the evening the universe said to me, we were sitting there having a chat. I cooked a bit of dinner and all. The dinner was shit. I fucked the dinner, but anyway, I was there, and then the universe said, why don't you go down and get some drinks and a bit of grilled food, you know? And I said, that's a fucking very good idea. So this is the universe, my thoughts, the voices in my head, which I hear with perfect clarity, said to me, why don't you go down and get some drinks and a bit of food? I said, that's a fucking great idea. Yeah, I'll do that. So I went down and bought some drinks, a bit of grilled food, everything else. I didn't have much money at the time. I never had much money. I haven't had much money for years. But bought a few drinks, grilled food, stuck it on, all the rest. The next morning then the universe said to me, why don't you go up and buy a bit of breakfast, you know, for everyone, you know, and have a bit of a nice breakfast before anyone goes home. And I said, yeah, that's a fucking good idea too. And I went up and I blew the last bit of money I bought a nice breakfast. And then when we were going home, they says, you know, I said, see you now and all the rest. And they said, oh, thanks very much for the stay, thanks very much for the breakfast and all. And I said, it was very much my pleasure. That was grand. Later on that day I was walking around and I had no money left for lunch or no money left for anything else. And the universe, because when it gets you in a certain situation, like for example, this is dialectics. It attacks you. It attacks your mind. But this is my mind. So really, what's attacking is the self. So basically, then if we make a distinction, we use Fry's model: the ego, the yin, the superego, whatever you like to call it. Basically, not I, but we, not two, but three. But basically, we now have an attack on the self by one or two parts, or either or. So basically, it started to say to me now, you know, you blew all your fucking money. Do you feel like a bit of a stupid cunt? You know what I mean? Do you feel like a bit of a stupid cunt? Did you learn anything from this? Did you learn anything from this? And I didn't say, oh, you told me to do it or anything else. No, I didn't. I took full responsibility for it. And I turned around. Now, this went on for about half an hour. You know, what are you going to do for lunch now? Fucking, you don't get there won't be another fucking penny till Monday. You know what I mean? Do you not think that was a little bit stupid? And all these thoughts attacking my decisions, attacking my choices. And I just turned around and I said, didn't I say, as I went out the door, that was my pleasure? And the universe says, yeah. And I said, well, then I meant it was my pleasure. And that ended that. Because I took full responsibility for it. And I said, I made a fucking choice. I made a choice. I fucking made what I fucking believe to be the right choice. Very happy with my choices, and I've absolutely no problem suffering a little bit for others or for myself. And this is what you call swinging the pendulum. That's what I mean when I say I swing the pendulum. I have no problem uh, spending my money or taking a risk or fucking anything else, even if it involves that I'll have to suffer a little bit, because this is, you know, if you're afraid to suffer, this is seriously going to inhibit your life. And that's only a small example of it. That's only a small example of it. But if you're actually not afraid to do the right thing, if you're afraid to actually, you know, uh, act in a way that you think like is that you feel it's the right thing to do to drive towards your goals or whatever it is, and you're solid in your reasoning, then it doesn't fucking matter outside that. If you're solid in your reasoning, because you will not be perturbed. Like if you read Crime and Punishment, Kolnikov is in Crime and Punishment. He went and he killed the pawnbroker. And then he went home and he suffered PTSD and he suffered all these, you know, he lay in the bed and was suffering the very same as now. And I have this experience where the universe attacks your mind in the middle of the night, and it called me a fucking thief and it called me everything in the middle of the night. Now, in his case, it was calling him a fucking murderer and a fucking basic everything else. But if your reasoning is not solid enough and you cannot stand up to this, and this is the cause of PTSD. If you don't have enough understanding and you can't stand up to this, well, then you're going to crumble. You're going to be under attack. You have to learn to respond back, and you have to learn to respond back assertively. And if you actually understand nature and you're solid in your reasoning, like you know, well, we could say it was made from a series of empirical knowledge. Basically, your reasoning was based on the facts that your conceptual experiences, and you acted in what you believed to be the right way or did the right thing. Then you will not be disturbed. I can tell you that. And anybody who doesn't have this soundness and solidness in their reasoning, then they will be disturbed. They'll be disturbed by people like me, for example, who said yesterday about making fucking money and all the rest. Now, I wasn't aimed at any particular person, but anybody, as they say, if the shoe fits, buckle that bitch up and wear it. And by all fucking means, feel free to wear it. I'm not going to come along and take it off, or I'm not even going to try and refrain from anything I might say. You may suck it up, buttercup, because this is dialectics, and this is how dialectics mind work. You start in the mind, where the mind attacks itself, and you have to be solid in your reasoning if you don't want to be perturbed. And that's, like, I gave you one small example, but I could give you examples all day. And then it extends out past this, and this is what I was trying to explain to somebody recently. If you just understand that you cannot control your thoughts and everybody else cannot control their thoughts. And but the difference is, I'll listen to mine and I'll say, no fucking way, I'm not even saying that, and I'm definitely not doing that. And then we might talk about it, and then I might act on it, and I might not act on it. But other people don't have this. This is called reasoning. This is, for me, is called reasoning, where you actually, you have to use all your past knowledge, all your current knowledge, and you have to take all the facts, and based on those facts, then you make a choice. But you have to be solid with that choice. And if you're solid with that choice, I tell you, you will not be disturbed. And this is what it's all about, becoming, understanding yourself, understanding nature, and then being so solid in these choices that you just say fuck you to everybody. Everybody. You will not be disturbed. You do what you fucking like. You do what you think is right. Now, in relation to making money, because I made a comment yesterday about making fucking money. Freud did some great work back in 1920. He more or less contributed to the death of God, more or less, like, you know, the ego and the self, which was nearly the start of what you call existentialism, which is basically we're alone in this world. All we have is ourselves, and there is no God, there is no one's coming to save us. We're on our fucking own. Get your fucking paddle and paddle this fucking canoe up the shit creek. And that's basically what existentialism is all about. We exist as a thing in ourselves. There is nothing outside of us. Now, that's grand. That's grand. I'm not even going to get into that now. I'm not even going to get into that now. But Freud was a contributory factor to this. And then he brings in the ego, and which more or less capsulizes this whole model in the self. It encapsulates the whole mind in the self. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I don't agree with that because for obvious reasons we share a collective consciousness, but I'm not even going to get into that now. What I want to say about this is Edward Bernays then took this all Freud's work. Edward Bernays was his nephew. And Edward Bernays came along and he was could we say, if Freud was the godfather of psychology, Bernays was the godfather of marketing, because he learned how to emotionally manipulate people, how to sell something, how if you want to sell something you have to tie it to an emotion. So basically he was the godfather of emotional manipulation. Basically, you do an ad showing you how it feels to drive this car. You need this car, you have to have this car. Oh, you wouldn't be so fucking miserable if you had this dress, this car, this phone, this fucking this motorbike. How about a new fucking kitchen to alleviate your fucking misery? How about a new kitchen? And this is sales, and this is a circular loop, because basically you have to be miserable in the first place, number one, and then we have the solution to your misery, which is buy some shit. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. I'm not imposing my morality on nature, because I don't even hold Bernays responsible for this. This was the universe. And this is the universe who comes along, makes you fucking miserable, sells you fucking shit, and catches you into this whole cycle. As I say to the universe, you did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. And therefore, I don't impose my morality on nature, and I'm not going to judge Bernays. In fact, I'm going to do even worse. Actually, I'm going to do what Bernays did, only better, because I'm going to use philosophy instead of psychology to do the very same. As I said to one girl in Plovdiv, let's take every fucking penny they fucking have. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. All the lower animals who can't control themselves, or who can't fucking rise above emotional manipulation, yes, I am going to kick you straight in the bollocks. And I am going to attempt to take every fucking penny you have and make no apologies for it. But I'm so solid in my fucking reasoning that if somebody calls me a tyrant, a hypocrite, whatever the fuck you like, I couldn't give two fucks, because I have an understanding of nature and I'm solid in my reasoning. And this is the point I suggest you get to. And then you won't be fucking putting your head in your lap and crying when someone calls you names or strikes a note of guilt or anything else. You have to overcome this guilt, this shame, this fucking oh, how could he say this? How could he say that? Or your own conscience. You have to overcome your own conscience. Basically, if you feel it's the right thing to do, do it, and if you don't. That's simple. But on the other hand, I will do Bernays on it, but on the other hand, I will teach you philosophy, and I will teach you how to negate this. And this is nature as well. I balance myself. I balance everything. But choices are all yours, my friend. The choices are all yours. Goodbye.